assistant.
All right, so today we decided to talk about Colossians. I'm saying it wrong.
Colossians.
Yeah, 2, which is it's misinterpreted a lot. Okay.
Yeah, it's the epistle. It's the epistle that Paul wrote to the saints on the Isle of Colossus.
Yes.
So, but just to do a little prelude,
Which is actually a hub of pagan activity.
Yes, it's like one of the biggest
one of the 7
pagan
wonders of the world.
cities there is or was, because it's not around now.
Yeah.
Anyways,
It is home to
It
one of
was-
the seven, or it was home to one of the 7 wonders of the world. Anyway, yes,
oh, it is. Which wonder?
the
Colossus.
Colossus.
No, I mean,
No,
but
it wasn't.
Oh no, that's Rhodes.
Colossus
That's
was in
Rhodes.
Rhodes.
My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
Nice.
That's Rhodes. My
No,
bad.
it's the temple of. It was the temple to Hephaestus.
Oh, that one. Okay, gotcha.
okay. Anyways,
Anyway.
so, but to start, I think one thing about Paul. Oh, Pat, let's before we do the Romans 7, let's do another verse because we are doing some Paul stuff.
yes. First Peter.
Second Peter.
Or Second Peter. Yeah.
Second
yeah.
Peter chapter 3.
Second Peter. 3.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get that up. Here we go. Okay, so Matt, you want to read 2 Peter 3:16?
Absolutely. As also in all Paul's epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures unto their own destruction. Ye therefore, beloved, seeing ye know these things before, beware lest ye also, being led away with the error of the wicked, fall from your own steadfastness.
Which, by the way, which this verse, while also talking about how Paul wrote some things that are hard to be understood, which we're going to go into why in Romans chapter 7,
Yeah.
but in addition to that, this also tells us that once saved, always saved is
A load of tosh.
it's a load of tosh, because otherwise, why give this warning that you could fall from your steadfastness, you could fall from your that you could basically forsake your salvation.
Right.
Correct. Because there's one verse that completely destroys that, among many others, right? But anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's go to Romans 7. So one thing I will say about Paul was a teacher of teachers, okay? And one thing about that, he, as we'll see here, he was speaking to people who understood him, and those who understood him understood Torah. Okay,
Right.
we'll see that in just a minute. So these letters, when they were written, weren't meant for the general populace, okay? The general members. Not that they were hiding them. It's just, as Peter just told us, Paul has things that are hard to understand. So, and I think a lot of that, it's not because what Peter taught was different than Paul, because they taught the same stuff. It was the way that Paul did it and how he brought out connections and symbolism.
When
Okay?
Paul teaches in his epistles, not everything is meant to be read at Peshat level,
Which
is the surface level,
which is the surface level reading.
Correct.
He teaches using the whole range of parties.
Yeah, so okay, so let's get into Padres real quick. Let me just get my page for that. Because yes, that I was getting into that he teaches a lot through symbolism. which, if you understand Torah and you're secure in the faith and keeping the commandments, it's fine. But if you're not, you will pervert those, and that's what most people do. So
You'll be confused. Yes.
yeah. So Zach, you want to read this little excerpt right here? I just highlighted.
This moment.
Can you increase the size?
Okay,
You might be thinking,
right there.
I'm taking that statement too literally. I would have to disagree, as I do agree there is much symbolism in it. I have to say that it is to be read literally also. One thing we learn when studying about parties is that the deeper levels of meaning are symbolic. Are symbolic?
Or symbolic. Deeper levels is symbolic. Is or.
Right.
And understanding do not contradict or negate the more surface levels or literal of understanding.
Okay, and then Josh, you want to read this one just to help us
Sure.
a little more?
The verse I just quoted, Mosiah chapter 18, verse 10, illustrates that we are to enter a covenant with God before we are baptized. I'll end on this one, as this is not the main subject of this post, but in Mosiah chapter 18, verse 8, it states, "Here are the waters of Mormon." This is a wonderful example of pardes. 4 levels of meanings in the scriptures. The simplest level is very obvious. That was the name of the water. And a deeper level takes into account that Mormon actually means covenant, and everyone is about to be baptized with water as a witness that they have entered into a covenant with God.
So, on this one right here, how Mormon means covenant. I know a lot of people think that the book is named after its primary abridger. It's not. It's named after what it's about, the covenant from Yahweh. In fact, to further support that, the title page from the Go Plates states it is to bring us in remembrance of the covenant that Yahweh gave us. I mean, that's
And
not
also in Doctrine and Covenants, section 84, verse 57.
yeah. So let me get that for you.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, sorry.
So basically, when you're reading the title of the Book of Mormon, you're reading what it's actually saying is Book of the Covenant.
Yes.
It's the Book of the Covenant. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what Ben's looking for right there.
Yeah. And they shall remain under this condemnation until they repent and remember the new covenant, even the Book of Mormon and the former commandments which I have given them, not only to say, but to do according to that which I have written. There's only one set of commandments that God wrote with his, that Yahweh wrote with his fingers with his own finger on tablets of stone.
Where was that
And
at?
that is the law of the new covenant.
Or renewed. But anyways, new, renewed.
Right. Well, I'm just using the words that are used in the scripture.
Yeah. I know.
So
Right. Okay.
Okay. I think with that, I think that's a good example of Padres and some sidetracks. We never do that. Oh boy.
We never sidetrack.
Okay. So, but Paul was a teacher of teachers, and before you become a teacher, I think it's Mosiah 18. We can find it if we're worried about it. Is that Alma brings out how teachers should be keeping Torah. Okay,
Right.
he says
Yeah.
keep the law, but that's the same thing.
Yeah. Basically, it states that Alma called nobody to be a teacher who was not already keeping the law.
Correct. And that goes along with this statement with Paul here. So I'll read this. Know ye not, brethren, for I speak to them that know the law. These letters were for the teachers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
How that the law, Torah, hath domain over a man only as long as he liveth. So he's this last part's about how Torah is forever. Okay, Torah is going to be lived in heaven. I have a recording about the 3 degrees of glory and
Well,
how Torah is there.
well,
So
here's the interesting thing. It says Torah has let's see, the Torah hath dominion over a man only as long as he liveth.
no, how that the Torah hath domain.
Yeah. But he's stating it as a question.
Right. Which is going off of how Torah
Well,
is eternal.
my point is that if you're living Torah, you are always alive. Even if your flesh should die, you're always alive. If you're living Torah.
Sure. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're alive in Yeshua, right?
That's
Right.
right.
Okay. I see where you're going now. Okay.
That's where I'm going with that.
Okay. So I think with that, now we'll go to actually what we want to read, which was
Colossians 2.
2.
So, and we're going to read this with an eye to unifying the Gospels as opposed to separating them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to do the whole chapter or just the?
Well,
the
it's not that long a chapter.
okay. All right. So we read the whole thing then.
Yep.
You want
So-
to start us off, Ben?
All righty. For I would that ye know what great conflict I have for you, and for them at Laodicea, and for as many as have not seen my face in the flesh. Okay, so he's in great conflict of soul he's in great turmoil of soul for the welfare of these people. Okay. For I would that ye know what great conflict I have for you, and for them at Laodicea, and for as many as have not seen my face in the flesh. It appears that he's a much better orator than writer, as he seems to see it. Nephi actually talks about this same kind of thing. I'm much more mighty in speaking than I am in writing. Moroni says the same thing. He made our people mighty in speaking, but not mighty in writing. And so you have that similar concern because he hasn't been able to talk to them face to face.
It is. I will say it's easier face to face than, or Zoom to Zoom.
Right.
Whatever.
The people. So I can definitely understand.
Yeah. So Josh, can you read verse 2?
Sure. That their hearts might be comforted, being knit together in love, and unto all riches of the full assurance of understanding, to the acknowledgement of the mystery of Christ, who is of God, even the Father.
Okay, so here we have a really interesting turn of phrase here. For right at the very end, Christ, who is of God, even the Father. So Christ is of the Father, is what he's saying. This is an acknowledgement of modalism.
Yes, and so the fact, and even more support of that, you'll look how here the "and" was removed by Joseph Smith in both cases that could point to Godhead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were restored with even,
And
stating that it is the same person, and this is just another title.
Well, and this actually goes back to one of the very earliest teachings we get about God in Deuteronomy. It's in the Shema. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, your Elohim, is one Lord, is one Adon. He is one. That is one of the very first teachings we receive about God in the Word.
Yeah, and I know I already said this, but this being in the JST really shows what Joseph Smith taught, which is also in Lectures on Faith 5, which I can put a link to, and it's all over the Book of Mormon. But anyways,
okay. So
literally, it's all over the Book of Mormon.
So
once you know what to see and look for, it's everywhere. You can't miss it.
All right. So in order to touch this back to the next verse, that their hearts might be comforted, being knit together in love unto all riches of the full assurance of understanding. He wants the saints in Colossus to understand the same things as the saints in Ephesus, as the saints in Galatia, as the saints in Corinth, etc., etc., etc. He wants to have that same understanding.
Are you saying the gospel and the Torah is the same everywhere?
Yes, it doesn't change based on location.
Does it change?
It doesn't change based on your feelings.
It doesn't. It also doesn't even change based on significant events in the unveiling of the plan of salvation.
Oh.
Okay. Well, actually, I agree with you. I'm playing devil's advocate, but you know that.
Yeah. It actually doesn't even change based on that. So the point that we have here we have Paul wanting to unite the saints in the same understanding.
Right.
Okay, verse 3, Zion.
Yeah. In whom are hid all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge.
Yes. So where are all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge to be found?
Yeshua, the promised Messiah.
Yahweh, Elohim, Yeshua.
Yeah.
All one and the same. I think we learned that from the previous verse.
You can simplify it by saying in God.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the Hebrew, that would be Elohim in title, Yahweh in name.
Right.
So that is where all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge are. Zach, verse 4.
And this I say, lest any man should beguile you with enticing words.
Yeah. So this I said. So he's worried about people. He's worried about the people around them beguiling them away from the way into pagan practice with enticing words. Oh, you can put your God into this activity, and it'll be all good.
Yeah, well, at the risk of offending people, Christians are pagans who don't know it. All the practices they push have their roots in paganism.
And pagan ceremony and pagan practice. Yeah.
All right. Verse 5. Stephen.
Yes. For though I be absent in the flesh, yet I am with you in the spirit.
Zion. Love you, girly.
Joying in beholding your order and the steadfastness of your faith in the Messiah.
For though I be absent in the flesh, so he's not there, yet I am with you in the spirit, joying in beholding your order. He joys in their faithfulness, in their maintaining of the way. And okay, so I'll read verse 6. As ye have therefore received Christ Yes, as you have therefore received the Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, Yahweh, so walk ye in him. So as you have received him, you walk in him. Oh, wait a minute. How can you walk in Yeshua HaMashiach? You walk in his mind and will. You walk.
Do you want another verse for that, or you want to just
go
continue?
go ahead and bring another one in to support that?
Okay, so we're going to go to my notes.
So in other words, you walk in his mind and will, which is
his spirit.
The spirit, which is Torah.
Yeah.
Because Torah, ostensibly, in my understanding, is his mind and will.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So here, and we all like this one. And I can read it. First John 2:3-6. And hereby, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And hereby we do know that we know Yeshua, if we keep his commandments. He that saith, I know Yeshua, and keepeth not his commandments, is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whosoever keepeth Yeshua's word, in him verily is the love of Elohim perfected. Hereby know we that we are in Yeshua. He that saith he abideth in Yeshua ought himself to so to walk even as Yeshua walked, which was keeping Torah.
Mm-hmm. So that's how you walk in Yeshua. That's how you walk in Yeshua, is by keeping Torah, which is the revelation of his mind and will. Therefore, it is his spirit. Okay.
And the
so
spirit will show
back.
you all things what you should do.
Right. So let's go back to Colossians 2.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so let's go. Josh, read verse 7.
Sure. Rooted and built up in him, and established in the faith, as ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving.
Okay, so here he's describing their faithfulness. He's established in the faith. In Romans, he says that faith establishes the Torah.
Faith establishes what?
The Torah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Which, keeping in mind that faith is trust and diligence, that does point to keeping Torah, which is
So
established in Torah.
So established in the faith is keeping Torah.
Yeah.
Right.
As ye have been taught, abounding therein with thanksgiving. Okay, Zach, verse 8.
Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ.
Okay, so now he starts into his warning. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. Here he's talking about Greek philosophy, that which surrounded them, the pagan Greek philosophy. Lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. He puts those two together. After the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world. So here he's talking about beware lest people bring you into worldly practices, or the worship of their gods.
Right.
That reminds me of a point in the law in Exodus chapter 34.
Okay, so let me go there. Exodus
Good night, Ben.
34. Which verse?
It's going to be at the letter, or I don't remember.
So I'm going to pause for just a minute.
Yeah.
Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee.
Okay, so just real quick, this is Exodus 34.
Exodus 34 verses, we started at verse 12, and we're going to go verse 17. But ye should take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. But ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves. For thou shalt worship no other Elohim, for Yahweh, whose name is Yahweh, is a jealous God. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods. And one call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice, and thou take of their daughters unto thy sons, and their daughters go a whoring after their gods, and make thy sons go a whoring after their gods. Thou shalt make thee no molten gods. This is the teaching that Paul is talking about, is warning against in Colossians chapter 2, verse 7. Yeah.
And that leaves no ambiguity.
Yeah.
That's very straightforward.
So that in verse 8. That's what in verse 8, that's what he's hieing back to. So
Right.
verse 9, Stephen.
Yes. For in him dwelleth, or in Yeshua dwelleth the fullness of the Godhead bodily. So, you don't mind me saying this one. This is just saying that the spirit, that the physical, I don't know if physical, but the soul spirit of God dwelleth in Yeshua, which is another teaching for modalism.
Yep.
Right. And I that's what I understood just now from reading that verse. So yeah, that was the first time I ever saw that, though. So I'm making progress. Yay! Anyways,
we all here were taught something different. Right? Oh,
yeah, that's true. That is true.
It takes time.
And here we have, and here we have in verse 10 the teaching that's at the back end of Lecture on Faith 5:2. And ye are complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power. And let's go to Lectures on Faith 5:2.
Yep. Let me do that.
And I'm really talking about that very last part where it's talking about the Holy Spirit, particularly the mind and will, the same mind and will that unites all, and that spirit that is poured out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You see it?
Bring it up just a little bit more. Bring it up just a little bit more. Okay. And I'll go from, let's see. All right. I'll start with being right here at the very bottom, being filled with the fullness of the mind of the Father, or in other words, the Spirit of the Father, which Spirit is shed forth upon all who believe on his name and keep his commandments. And all those who keep his commandments shall grow up from grace to grace and become heirs of the heavenly kingdom and joint heirs with Yeshua HaMashiach, possessing the same mind, being transformed into the same image or likeness, even the express image of him who fills all in all, being filled with the fullness of his glory, and become one in him, even as the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are one. So that's what that verse is referring to. This oneness with them that comes as we walk in Yeshua or walk in the Spirit.
So grace, by grace, is a term that means sanctification.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
it means
Yeshua
first,
was sanctified, but
it means first justification, then sanctification.
Right. Okay. I was going to say.
Because grace to grace.
Right.
Mercy.
Right.
It grew from grace to grace. Right.
Mhm.
and that is saying sanctification.
Yep.
Right. I get it. Okay.
Okay, do you
And this is the same process that all people who have come to earth, I will say that again, all people who have come to earth, even when God condescended, Yeshua had to grow from grace to grace.
and it brings that out in the New Testament when you know what to look for. But anyway.
Yeah, it also is in the Doctrine and Covenants quite clearly in section 93.
Yeah, he went through the same process that he wants us to go through.
Right.
Well, he had to.
He had to
Otherwise,
exemplify the process.
correct.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
he
yes,
is our
it-
perfect example.
Right.
It would have defeated the whole purpose if he didn't.
Yeah. Exactly. And so he's our perfect exemplar. He came up with the plan and he's our perfect exemplar in following it. And
And thereby proving that it is possible in this life.
and he paid the blood penalty for us.
Yes, he did.
He has incurred all of the risk.
Yes, and actually on this point, since we're dwelling on a little bit, it is the head of the household that's responsible for what those inside of it do it. That's in
Right.
Torah. And that is showing us what Yeshua is for us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it just the Torah, when correctly understood, tells us about Yeshua's character.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So let us go back to Colossians chapter 2.
Okay. I'm getting there. Give
It's
me
really
one second.
cool. It's really cool to realize how the gospel in every I know we don't like this word because it's really not indicative of what's going on, but I'll use it because it'll be something that a lot of people who may watch this understand. From in every dispensation, the gospel harmonizes. It's not to be pitted against itself.
Right.
It all harmonizes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say hi to them. Hi guys. So
Hi.
sorry, it's bad timing. I'm with some friends. Bye. Love you guys. Thank you for calling, even though it didn't quite work out. So.
Yeah.
Bye.
It harmonizes.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on here. Which is the okay. You're complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power. Verse 11, Josh.
Sure. In whom also ye are circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, in putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Christ.
Okay. You're putting off the world. You're putting off the circumcision. You're putting off the sins of the flesh by becoming a part of the circumcision of Christ. Oh, wait, where else do we find this? Do we find this potentially in Mosiah chapter 4?
Let's go
Potentially.
look.
I would say potentially, yeah.
A high potentiality. Or maybe chapter 3. But...
Okay, so let's pause to find the verse and then we'll resume.
Okay, so so we found the scripture that we're looking for. It's in Mosiah chapter 3, verse 19. This is a corresponding teaching to what Paul is giving the Colossians in chapter 2. For the natural man is an enemy to God, and has been from the fall of Adam, and will be forever and ever, unless he yields to the enticings of the Holy Spirit, and putteth off the natural man, i.e., stops doing whatever it is he wants to do, and becometh a saint through the atonement of Christ the Lord, and becometh as a child, submissive, meek, humble, patient, full of love. Oh, wait a minute. This sounds like the description of charity.
Oh, wait. This sounds like description of Torah commandments.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And willing to submit to all things. To all things. Which
Torah.
All things is a
Torah.
phrase that means Torah, and a lot, not all the time, but depending on context, and it definitely does here.
Well, in this context, I do believe it's referring to Torah, but anyway.
Because that is the only thing which YHWH seeth fit to inflict upon us. Most of the other bad things that happen in our lives are a result of just being mortal.
Yeah.
Um,
Or Satan has some power over us because the sins that we had not committed and not repented of.
Right. So the point is,
we are not willing to submit, and this is why we have those things happen to us, because we want to follow our own program,
right?
And we don't want to heed Torah, and we don't want to submit ourselves to the Lord.
Right. And to relate this back to Colossians again, because we're about to go into the things which the pagans are judging them for, which are things which are against the pagan religions that endorse the natural man.
Right.
And so here so that's what we're going into here. Verse 12, Zach. Zach?
Just a minute.
Oh, sorry. I am
buried with him in baptism, wherein also ye are risen with him through the faith of the operation of Elohim, who hath raised him from the dead.
Okay. So again, they're united to him through baptism, following him even into the waters of baptism, entering into covenant with him before they're baptized, as we can read about in Mosiah 18:10. But
right, and, I would think 2 Nephi, is it 32 or 31?
2 Nephi 31.
31, yeah. 2 Nephi 31 is a better example of that, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Wherein also ye are risen through the faith of the operation of God, which hath raised him from the dead. So, is there anything that you want to say about that verse, Stephen?
Sorry, I say that one more time.
Was there anything you wanted to say about that verse outside?
I got a slight insight just now. Who hath raised him from the dead? Right, when we covenant, right, when we make that covenant and we're keeping Torah, we are raised from the dead because we are alive.
We're born
Torah.
again. We're born again.
So along with what Josh just stated, there's this phrase, what is it, Genesis 1 or 2? I forget. Anyways, but a living soul, okay? And there's confusion with that, but that living soul is what Josh just brought out. It's when we keep Torah in covenant with Yeshua, we are a living soul. Which also goes along with what I think it was Ben earlier about if you keep Torah, we don't die.
Right.
And
so we go from that into verse 13, Stephen.
Yeah, but real quick, and that's in the second death, okay? Because there's two deaths.
Right.
Yes.
And so you have to remember, anyways, in reading scriptures, it's helpful to know other key passages beforehand to help understand what they're saying.
Right.
Right.
Now, you'll see in Yeshua's mortal ministry that there were times when the apostles didn't understand Yeshua.
Yeah.
But I was most of my life I didn't understand the scriptures, which are the words of Yahweh, right?
Right.
I'm not trying to diss on them. I'm just trying to give some understanding and connection that
In fact, most
Yahweh knew who they would become once he taught them. Okay?
Right.
Yes. Yes.
But they weren't studied in the Torah themselves till Yeshua called them, and then he helped them understand it and whatnot. Okay.
well,
And then-
just like
and
just
it's-
like can I might I say something here? Just like all of us, we may have studied the scriptures, but we understood them in a way that pitted them against each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I will say, for those who believe in the restoration, it was an unschooled boy that made it possible for us to get insights into God's true ways.
Yep.
That prepared the way for who will be coming that will restore Torah.
Yes.
And this is just like the 12 apostles who were not schooled also. Yeshua took unschooled boys and men in the ways of the world and their false traditions to then teach them the right way.
Yep.
Just like we went over recently, the parable of the workers.
Yes.
They were idle for a period of time.
Yeah.
Some were
They
idle
didn't
for an
know- they did
extremely
not-
long period of time.
Well, they did not know where to look.
Right.
So Zach, since 13 actually finishes the teaching of 12, do you mind reading 13 too?
Okay. And you, being dead in your sins and the uncircumcision of your flesh, hath he quickened together with him, having forgiven you all the trespasses.
Blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross.
So
Israel broke their covenant with him, and in his love and mercy, he took the punishment.
He forgave them.
another thing that we could. Oh, sorry. Are you done,
He
Ben?
became sin for them to take away the handwriting of ordinances that was against them. This is where we get into this idea again that the law of Moses and the law of Moses was the handwriting of ordinances that was against them. If we could go back to I believe it's Exodus 34 here in where he talks
Yeah.
about
So I'll do it on my page just because that's there and there's others that you may want to get at, but
yeah. Because this is referring to this prophecy that was given to Moses as he's being given the law of the carnal commandment.
Mm.
Yeah.
I believe this is the one you want, right?
Yes, that's the one. And Yahweh said unto Moses, hew thee 2 other tables of stone, like unto the first, and I will write upon them also the words of the law, according as they were written at the first on the tables which thou breakest. But it shall not be according to the first, for I will take away the priesthood out of their midst. Therefore my holy order and the ordinances thereof shall not go before them.
Hmm.
And this is as a whole, though, for there were people in Israel who did receive, who were sanctified.
Yes, and there's quotes from Joseph Smith that goes along those lines. But anyways,
Yeah. For my presence shall not go up in their midst, lest I destroy them. But I will give unto them the law as at the first, but it shall be after the law of a carnal commandment. And when he's saying after, he's talking about and referring to time. The law as at first was restored through Yeshua.
yeah, and so just on those lines, as Ben's kind of alluding to it, I'll be a little direct. There's multiple verses that talks about the first and second or old and new that goes along, and this after goes along with how that order, how law of Moses is the first or the old, and Torah is the second or the new. And in this page, I talk about that even more. So I don't know how much Ben wants to get into it, but I just wanted.
But I think I just want to share this so that they, and encourage people to read the rest of this page. The law of a carnal commandment, for I have sworn in my wrath that they shall not enter into my presence, into my rest in the days of their pilgrimage. Therefore do as I have commanded thee, and be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mount. So the point is, this is a clear differentiation and delineation between the law of carnal commandments, the law of Moses, and Torah, which is the second commandments.
Yeah,
which are the same as the commandments that were at the first, before the ordinances that were against us were added.
So in one of even within Torah, without the JST, oh yeah, there it is. Numbers 28, 1-8, specifically verse 5. If you know what ordained it means established, started in Mount Sinai. It's talking about the day by day, aka law of Moses, started Mount Sinai. It's right there. One knows how to read it. Now, I will be honest. I came to understand how to read that after Yahweh taught me this.
Right. And so the thing is that now this does not constitute a change in Yahweh. This constitutes a judgment against the people of the covenant.
Yeah.
That's in here. I'm trying to remember. Is that the Galatians one?
Yeah.
I think it's that one.
Added because of transgression.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. Black and white.
Right. All right. So here, I actually am going to read this whole section here. Sorry, guys. I was just kidding about only reading the one section. JST Galatians 3:12-19. And the law of Moses, the law is not a faith, i.e., the law of carnal commandments is not a faith, but the man that doeth them shall live in them. Christ, the Messiah, hath redeemed us from the curse of the law. So being made a curse for us, for it is written, cursed is every one that hangeth on a tree, that the blessing of Abraham might come to the Gentiles through Yeshua HaMashiach, that they might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. Brethren, I speak after the manner of men, though it be but a man's covenant, yet when it be confirmed, no man disannulleth it or addeth thereto. So if a man, here he is saying, if a man makes a covenant, nobody changes it, nobody can disannul it. Now to Abraham and his seed where the promise is made, how much more so is it when God makes a covenant? He saith not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to thy seed, which is the Messiah.
Mm.
And this I say that the covenant which was confirmed before Elohim in the Messiah, the law, which was 430 years after, because cannot disannul that it should be made, that it should make the promise of none effect. So here we have this Torah. It can't be disannulled by the law of Moses. The promise of faith cannot be disannulled by the law of Moses. For if the inheritance is of the law of carnal commandments or the law of Moses, then it is no more a promise. But God gave it to Abraham by promise. God gave it, Torah, to Abraham by promise. Wherefore then the law, therefore the law of carnal commandments or of Moses was added because of transgressions until the seed should come.
This seed, and this seed points to Yeshua. This is a seed that's talked about with Eve from the garden, anyways, which points to Yeshua.
To whom the promise was made in the law given to Moses, who was ordained by the hand of angels to be a mediator of this first covenant. This is one of those instances where it talks about the law of carnal commandments, which was put in place, begun at Sinai, according to Numbers 5, and here he's actually teaching it as it relates to the Torah.
Right.
It cannot disannul Torah.
No.
It cannot disannul the promise through faith.
Right, and it can't disannul because it was punishment. So
Right.
for
And without
keeping it, but
in fact, without Torah, it couldn't have been laid down.
right, because it was given because they were breaking Torah.
Right.
So you don't want to do this, but you're gonna do this.
So I think,
And I will change that statement just slightly. You will do the punishment in addition to
Torah. Yes.
yeah.
True that. True.
So yeah, because the punishment is actually a constant reminder of the blood guilt of the covenant keeper, of the human side of the covenant keeping thing.
Right.
It's a constant reminder of their blood guilt.
correct.
Yes.
And
which
the
was
problem-
not expiated until Christ took it upon himself.
Yep.
As both goats in the Day of Atonement.
But there are
became
different
sin for
aspects
us.
of the atonement. The different goats are different aspects. But yeah.
He became sin. That the handwriting of ordinances might be nailed to the tree with it. Which is why there will never again be the extra daily and sabbatical offerings required of man, because that price has been paid. The sin offerings, peace offerings, and other things are prophesied in Ezekiel.
Yeah, so the way that I would put it is punishments don't have to be eternal. And I'm glad for that, because otherwise I'd be going to hell.
Right.
So let's
Yeah.
so I think that's enough on the handwriting. I think that's enough for now on the handwriting of ordinances.
Okay, so I'm going to sidetrack us just a little bit since we're talking about the general time. Okay, so just before the law of Moses was given, Moses was on Mount Sinai, and Yahweh said, I don't remember the exact words, but he said the mixed multitude were sinning. All right, your followers, your people are sinning.
Your people, not my people.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, okay.
people.
I'm not
No.
claiming them. Anyways.
There is a reason he is saying that. Moses is the leader. It's not that Yeshua was just pawning off the sinful child or the the child that's being bad to the other parent. Okay, that's not
Right.
what's going on. It's funny to talk about it that way, but that is not what's going on. Moses is the leader. He is the head. Just
Right.
as the reason why Yeshua can pay for our sins is because he is the head, the leader. He is the father, which goes along with, again, what's going on with this interaction, how Moses is, saying, I'll take their sins and all that jazz. It's because Moses is being the head of the household that is described in Torah.
Okay.
Yopa taught him what it means to be the head of the household, and Moses accepted it.
And he did it.
Yeah.
Now, we'd have to go look at the actual words, because I only remember parts of it in my head. Now, just going off of vague memory, I think Moses took it too far, just like Abraham took something too far, or slightly misunderstood, because then afterwards, after Moses said, I'll take it on, he's like, no, only those who sinned, I will hold them independently accountable. So
Right.
Moses had the correct idea, just not completely, if that makes sense.
Well, and basically what God told him is, I have no intention of blotting your name out of my book.
Right, yes. But he was doing that same principle there.
Yeah.
Just maybe not completely correctly. He was attempting to.
Yeah.
He was, well, and I think that's why that distinction was made there, is because, he took into account that Moses was trying.
Yes.
Just like he
like how Abraham
he took into account that Abraham was trying, and he sent him a ram. It goes back to the Day of Atonement again.
well, that one was Passover, but
Yeah,
Passover and Day of Atonement both point to the atonement, right?
right. He sent him a ram in the thicket. He sent him a ram in the thicket,
Yep.
whereby he could offer the appropriate redemption offering for his son.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he was the firstborn. He broke the womb. But anyways, yes, completely.
Yes.
So
Very
now with my sidetrack done, shall we go back?
Yeah, let's go back to Colossians. I think it's really cool to see how the gospel just gels together.
And Torah, right?
Yeah.
This is an example how when you understand Torah, you understand these histories.
Right. And you realize that the gospel and the law have been the same throughout time. That the standard hasn't changed, and that is actually a really cool thing, because that means we can know what is expected of us, and we don't have to and we work out our salvation in fear and trembling, yes, but it doesn't have to be an uncertainty of what the standard is.
Right.
It's given to us. It's just a matter, do we study it and try to understand it?
Right.
Right.
I think we have one last verse.
Okay, so I think
there's more.
I think I just read 14.
Yeah,
there is more. Never mind.
23, but anyway.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, you just read 14. Yes.
Okay, Josh, 15.
All right. And having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it.
Having spoiled principalities and powers. Now, a lot of people like to make this about the devils and demons and what have you. Guess what? It's not. He's conquered the world.
Yeah.
Just like he said. When he's talking about principalities and powers, he's just talking about the principalities and powers of the world.
Yeah, he overcame the world. That's another way. Conquering, overpowering, right? Same thing.
Right. We're not talking about exorcism rituals against powerful demons. No, we're talking about just overcoming the world and ceasing from and overcoming sin and death. Those are the principalities and powers that he overcame.
Yep.
Okay. On to the next
Next
one.
verse 16. Stephen.
Let no man therefore judge you in what you eat, or in drink, or in respect of any holiday, of the new moon, or of Sabbath days. Now,
So who is going to be judging them?
Okay, yeah. So the people. So we need to keep in mind this letter was written to converts in a very, very, very pagan city. Okay.
Right.
One of the one of the 7 wonders of the pagan world was there.
Yeah. And so these pagans, or this is just like when a family member converts to a different religion, okay?
Right.
The family members who did not convert with them give the converts hell.
Yeah, they do.
That's what's going on here. And Paul is trying to tell them, don't let them judge you for doing what is right.
Right.
Or
So
another way to look at that is don't accept the judgment that they lay on you.
Correct. Which is a bad
because they are going to judge you. They will judge you.
So don't accept the judgment that they lay on you for keeping the holy days or the new moons or the Sabbath days. He's not saying, oh, just cave in so that they don't judge you.
Yeah, no, he's saying the exact opposite. But anyway.
Yeah, he's saying keep these things, right?
Keep these things and don't accept their judgment of you for doing them.
Right. So now it's interesting here. Let no man, this man has to do with non-believers because he doesn't say saints. It says no man. Saints are those who are trying to become like Yahweh. This is talking about the world here.
Right.
Not believers.
Yep. And what does it say? Also, don't let them judge you in meat. Don't let them judge you because you don't eat pig. Don't let them judge you because you don't eat shrimp.
Right. So this is going along with kosher
feeders.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what holidays you keep.
Yep.
This is the holy days. That's the annual.
Yep.
This is the moonly, and this is the weekly.
So this is one of those scriptures that's often miscited or misinterpreted because what it's telling them is to keep doing these things.
Yeah.
Don't worry, and not to worry about the judgments that are placed upon you.
Now, this is funny here. Along with these lines, some people say these are shadows of what used to be, and that Yeshua did away with those. But here, verse 17.
That's a far stretch.
Oh yeah. Well,
it's the exact opposite of what the words actually say.
Yeah, but these are shadows.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm getting at. So these are lessons that teach you of things to come, meaning just Isaiah 66 says all of this stuff is still valid.
Right.
It does. Isaiah 66 lists all of that stuff as still valid in the millennium.
Right.
Yep, including kosher. Including kosher. Those who do not, those who eat swine will be destroyed.
So if they're trying to use these verses to say you don't need to do it, they really don't understand.
No, that's
what they're doing is they're setting themselves up, and anybody who listens to them, they're setting them all up for destruction.
Yeah. Which goes along with Matthew 5 about people teaching against the law, right?
Yep.
So, anyways.
Okay, Zach.
And those two are some of the most used verses to promote lawlessness.
Yes. Yes. So Zach, if you don't mind reading verse 18 for us.
Let no man beguile you of your reward in a voluntary humility, in worshiping of angels, and shooting into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind.
Wow, this is a warning against Gnosticism, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
This is a warning against against Gnosticism, which Catholicism is full of, by the way. And the Protestants don't get a pass because they didn't fix it.
Yeah, because it's still they kept it.
Yeah,
They did. Yeah, they did.
they don't get a pass because they didn't fix it. So they, it's let no man beguile your mind, beguile you of your reward. So this also, when you take 16 to 17 in context with 18, we now also realize that this is also talking against these people that are drawing people away or judging people for keeping the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And verse 19, Josh.
All right. And not holding the head, from which all the body by joints and bands have nourishment ministered and knit together, increaseth with the increase of God.
And not holding the head. That's what happened.
Yep.
That's what happened to the nascent Christian church.
As in, they let go of the head, Yeshua and his ways.
Yes.
Just to make it clear, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That is what happened to the nascent followers of Christ.
Yeah.
They let go of the head. They let go of
Yeshua
Torah.
is the head, just so it's clear.
Yeah, Yeshua is the head, and Yeshua kept Torah, and to follow Yeshua, to be his disciple, is to keep Torah.
Yep.
Yeah.
As we read earlier, right?
Right.
In the New Testament, after Yeshua's death and resurrection.
Right.
In fact, verses 16 and 17, taken in context, are telling people to hold to the way.
Yeah.
To hold to the head.
Yep.
Good night, guys.
Wherefore, if ye be dead with Christ, good night, buddy. If ye be dead with Christ from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are ye subject to their ordinances? I'll add their ordinances.
Mm.
Well, if you were baptized with Yeshua, as in the death, right? That's what he's going on.
If you are dead with Christ from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are ye subject to ordinances which are after the doctrines and commandments of men, who teach you to touch not, handle not.
I was just trying to say another way to help it make it obvious that it's talking about don't touch the things of the world. So,
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I will also say the JST.
well, he's asking it as a question. He's asking it here as a question. Why are you doing this? Why are you allowing them to take you away from the keeping of the way? Why are you marrying with them?
Right. And the JST makes it more clear what's going on here, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe so, because with the Boldians, which are after the doctrines and commandments of men.
Yeah, you don't touch it. So that means don't keep the oral Torah, which is after the commandments of men.
Don't keep the minglings of paganism.
Yeah.
With the doctrine of Christ, which is the Catholic Church. Don't keep that.
Yeah, the Catholic Church admits that they baptized all these practices.
Yeah.
And guess what? Everybody else is walking with the Catholic Church. All
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah, they
other
are.
major religions are walking hand in hand with the Catholic Church into the New World religion.
Yeah.
You know, they've already, Pope John Paul II held an ecumenical meeting with all the major heads of all the major religions. And this happened about, 7 to 10 years ago, in which during this meeting, all of the major religious leaders, including the prophet of the LDS Church, acknowledged the Pope as the leader of all world religions.
That's sick.
That happened. That has happened.
That's sick.
Yeah. And here's the thing. And verse 22 is probably the most poignant thing in one of the more poignant things in here. Which things have indeed a show of wisdom.
And
The
that
things of the world
show,
have the show of wisdom.
show is there on purpose because it's not real. It just looks like it.
Right.
And yet, and will worship and humility, neglecting of the body as to the satisfying of the flesh, not in any honor to Yahweh. Or to
Element,
Elohim.
but anyways.
Not in any honor.
You know, a lot of these pagan practices do involve the torture of the body.
Yes. Good Friday has a lot of that. I have a post on that.
Yeah. It show of wisdom in will worship, right? Not true worship, but will worship. Like their will is going to make things good, right? But it's not true worship.
Correct.
It's will worship.
You see that in Protestantism.
In pretty much
everywhere.
every religion.
Let's not just corner them on that because the Catholic Protestants, I can't say it. The LDS Brighamites,
and the
evangelicals,
they all do it. They all do it.
Yeah.
They all want to make their will the will of Yahweh.
Right.
Yeah,
they
all
come to me with their mouth, but their hearts are far from me.
They all want to make their
and
will
that
the will
is
of
what will worship is.
And that and so you have and also these splinter groups from these churches, if they're not paying attention to Torah, if they're not reading Torah, if they're finding reasons to discount Torah, then they're also practicing will worship.
Boom. Yes.
Yeah, because it's their will.
Because they're telling God what his will is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're not accepting the revelations of his will which have been given.
Yep.
Which were actually not even which is not even actually necessary for us to pray over whether we should do them. This according to Doctrine and Covenants, section 59.
Torah is Torah. Torah has always been Torah.
It's like
always be
no more concerning this matter. It's according to the law and the prophets.
Right.
Trouble me no more concerning this matter. Obey the law and the prophets.
Right.
Yep.
Pretty simple.
Okay, so that was Colossians chapter 2. Guess what, folks? It's not about lawlessness.
No, it's about keeping the law. This
It's
is
very
just
much
a
about
whole
keeping
other. Hopefully, this will help people understand how people are twisting Paul unto their own condemnation and others. Right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna stop.